They were spicy books without being spicy back in the day.
Dude, it's a Court of Thorn and Roses, only back then it was called Dracula.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like people are like, oh my God, if this vampire would show up and rail me.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal comedy podcast where we talk about all things spooky. I'm Taylor.
I'm Nick.
And we've got the ultimate, the main event vampire of all time, Dracula.
Alucard. Dracula. Drac. I think I've heard him called that before.
Old Dracky boy.
Yeah, I remember we'll get into it, as the episode progresses about all the different, iterations of Dracula. But one of them I thought was really cool was the Batman semi-recently where he fights Dracula. And it was one of those moments where, he's going through all his detective work and he's like, who is this guy named Alucard? And then he holds the reflection up to the mirror and it's Dracula backwards. It's like, oh my God. I remember the first time seeing that, I was like, oh, it does spell Dracula backwards. I didn't even realize that. It's like the meme that's floating around. It's like, you watch Unsolved Mysteries, you get to the end of the episode, and the mystery is still unsolved.
What?
You're just mind boggled.
How can they make a show called Unsolved Mysteries and then just never tell you how the mystery gets solved?
I mean, some of them get solved.
Do they?
There have been a couple. If you watch, maybe they do it in the new series, the reboot on Netflix. But if you watch the older episodes, as the seasons progress, they do revisit older episodes, and sometimes they're like, oh, this, there was a tip and it led to the arrest of so and so, years later.
That mystery has now been solved, but it spawned a new mystery that now is not unsolved.
Yeah, basically. Which I think the new season's about to come out.
I wish they would come back out with the Files of the Unexplained. That show is awesome.
I thought they were still making that.
You're thinking of the William Shatner show? This is a different show. I think it's called Files of the Unexplained. I think you're thinking of The Unexplained with William Shatner. Yeah. The show's called Files of the Unexplained.
Was that on Netflix?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they go to a bunch of creepy locations and find out the history of the location they're at. That's what gave me the idea for our Mount Shasta episode, if you guys remember that episode. I watched an episode of that, and that's when the guy was like, I was sitting there for 2 hours, and the ships just kept going in and out of this goddamn mountain. It's fried out of his mind. Yeah.
That guy was like, of all the people that you could have picked, you had to find the dude that's been to every single Grateful Dead concert since 1968. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
He lives in a van down by the river. Yeah, for sure.
Dude's just blasting the dead 24/7. He's been to
grows acres of weed.
Oh yeah, yep. Just frog.
Right up there on that slope. I bet that's some dank shit.
Oh yeah, he's like, behind me, I've been that's Northern Lights, that's Southern Lights, it's Western Lights, and that's Eastern Lights.
Saturday, if you're listening to this episode before Saturday, October 25th, go to the Halloween Cryptids Fair. I think that's what it's called. I think that's what they're going with.
Halloween Cryptid, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Cryptid Halloween at a Cushwa Brewing Company down here in Williamsport, Maryland. We went to the cryptid vendor thing up at Thick and Thin back in late spring.
Yeah, late spring.
And that was really cool. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cool stuff there. They were going to do this again at Thick and Thin, but I guess something happened that they had to drop out. But they moved it to Cushwa, and Cushwa is fucking awesome. It's a great brewery. Rad Pies is right there.
Yep. Grab yourself some pizza. Yeah. You get yourself some beer, and then you can get yourself some cryptid merch.
And you get to come talk to us if we're there while you're there, which we should be. I would assume so.
We'll be there.
Yeah. So if you see us, come up and say hi to us. We would love to talk to our fellow cryptid nerds.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about all things spooky off the podcast, too.
Yeah, of course.
Especially during this most secret of time of year, season. October.
October.
Halloween, spooky season.
Oh, yeah. So spooky.
It's coming up fast, man. I can't believe how fast October's going by.
3 weeks.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's next. Yeah, they're already planning like the Christmas stuff in my job.
Dude, there's already Christmas everything out in the stores. I'm like, no, damn it. I want my Halloween stuff still. I still want to buy lights for Halloween.
We went to Hobby Lobby, and already they have...
Well, that's a different case. The Hobby Lobby, I feel like they have their Christmas shit out all year round.
They do, but they don't. But like the dollar store, they've already got all their like Christmas stuff up, and
it's a tragedy. Let us have Halloween. Like after Halloween, go for it. That's all I'm asking. Just let me have Halloween.
Nope, it's not how capitalism works, my friend.
We're just speeding along. We're trying to get rid of our holidays before they start.
Yeah.
But anyways, what have you been up to, Nick? Any spooky things happen to you lately? Any good ghost things? Any cryptid sightings? Any funny UFO sightings that you've seen? I know you're a big TikTok guy.
So the most recent thing that I saw, I thought that was pretty interesting, was on Reddit the other day. Okay, so Reddit, I love it because...
But take it with a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of salt, but it's funny that people will like debunk it. I love how the amount of people go on there to debunk stuff. That's what I love about it. So somebody will post like a really sketchy picture of a cryptid sighting or a UFO or whatever, and almost immediately everybody like who's making the comments, they're trying to debunk it, which I love. And of course you have like the occasional comments where people are like, oh yeah, it's real. So it was on Reddit, and somebody posted a photo supposedly of a sea monster, and it was at Lake Champlain, and supposedly it was a photo of Champ, or sometimes the Champlain monster. And of course, everybody immediately starts like debunking it, trying to figure out what it is. In the photo, you can clearly see it's like there's an eye, like a visible eye. So there is like no denying that there is something in the water. Ooh. But of course, a lot of people are thinking that. Notice how it has like a beak, because it kind of did look like it had a beak, and they were thinking that it was some sort of like bird that was diving into the water.
Mid-flight.
Yeah, mid-flight, basically like underneath the water, catching prey. Ooh. And that seemed to be like the consensus.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But if you go on Reddit, just like type in, Champ recent sighting. I'm sure it'll pop up in like the most recent feed of, and of course it started blowing up on like all, so you have like all your different subreddits, so you can like look up like cryptozoology, but then of course people started tagging it in like all the other subreddits, so sea monsters, Lake Champlain,
right?
So you can probably find it if you just look it up on Reddit. So that was pretty interesting. As far as, I think that was like my one cryptid thing that I found that was pretty interesting this week.
Nice.
Anything on your end? Any sort of ghost stories? Any sort of encounters?
I can't really say I had any encounters, but we did do hit my trifecta of ghost tours in Gettysburg last weekend. We went to the alleged haunted orphanage and the alleged haunted Jenny Wade house. I've done the Jenny Wade house tour before, but I've never done the ghost tour at night. Okay. So that was cool. Nice. The orphanage tour, I will say, is really spooky. It's like a really spooky vibe down there. So they take you in to the original like orphanage upstairs, and she kind of the tour guide we had, her name was Maria. She was fun. She was a little strange, but that kind of adds to the tour a little bit, I guess. She was very eccentric. We'll go with eccentric.
Sure.
But she was telling us, she brings us into like the little chapel room where they had Annabelle.
Yeah, okay.
Which was not an original part of the orphanage, but once we went into the original part, she's like, you'll have to touch your head with your hands just to make sure you still have your arms attached and stuff. And I'm like, okay, all right. But all that to say, turn the lights out, and it is pitch-ass black in there. You cannot see anything.
No, I don't like that.
So she was kind of telling the alleged, hauntings, the history of the place and stuff like that. And it is very, very eerie to be sitting there in the pitch black and you can't see anything. And I don't know if it was because I was drinking coffee and I couldn't see anything whether my eyes were open or not. I started getting really and there was a lot of people on there. It was like warm in there. So I was starting to get a little, I don't really get claustrophobic, but I guess that's what it was. Getting like really warm sensations and like kind of like that. I was like, maybe a ghost is fucking with me.
Yeah, but possibly. Yeah.
I also could be a high EMF, down in the basement there. They take you down into they call it the dungeon, where I think we talked about her on our second episode of the podcast. We have to revisit the Ghost of Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Rosie Carmichael, she would stash the kids down there when they were bad, chain them up into this tiny little pit. They actually let you go into the pit. And it's like maybe 4 feet long and like 2 feet high. So you can like squeeze in there, but they would just chain them up in there and leave them for like a day or two.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's tragic. And they like know of, I think, 2 deaths at least on the property under her watch.
Oh, man.
Could have been more. Who knows, I guess. But yeah, it's a tragic story. The Haunted Orphanage, if you get a chance to look into that history, it is definitely not a fun time. But the tour is very, very cool. I would suggest going in the off season where you could actually do like a more personalized tour without 30 people on it, like I had. Of course, we're in the peak of spooky season. We even went at like 10:30 at night, and there was still tons of people. I mean, it was a holiday weekend, but October in Gettysburg is always touristy.
It's quite the hot spot for the spooky encounters.
It's true. So I think if you can hit a tour with a group of like, if it's just like yourself and your group, or maybe like 3 or 4 other people, you might have some activity happen. But unfortunately, nothing outside of feeling a little woozy. Not woozy, I guess, but just off.
Yeah.
I think it was just because it was hot. But
it could have been.
Because after I got out there and got some fresh air, I was fine. But I left the building. Could have been the ghost messing with me, and then they're like, "All right."
Could have been.
She did say that they target men, so who knows?
Yeah.
Ginny Wade House, nothing happened, but
the
stories are cool.
It's always a fun time.
She exaggerates the truth a little bit, but that's okay. I'll keep that to myself.
I think they all do. I think they all do, and they know it.
The thing that gets me is like you can just do basic research, and it's like, yeah, we know this didn't really happen. She's like, well, if she would have just stayed at her house, no bullets hit that house, but at this house, there's bullets all in it. You figure that one out. I'm like raise my hand. Like, I can figure it out, actually. The Union line was directly behind this house. They were not over at her other house. So that's why there's bullet holes in this one, not that one. Yeah. But anyways, good tour. I mean, definitely worth I think we spent $20 or something on it. It was 2 hours.
Yeah.
So definitely worth it. Definitely Ghostly Images of Gettysburg combo tour.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, that is our infamous intro. So if you stuck around this long, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
Now let's talk Dracula.
Let's get to the nitty gritty. So
Nick wanted to talk about this topic a couple weeks ago. We discussed in our topics. He's like, let's talk about Dracula. But not yet. Like, we'll do the haunted house things first. I brought that up on a whim. You seem to like that idea, so
yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
and then
all the topics.
And then we'll do Dracula next week. Well, next week has come. So Nick, why Dracula?
It's just he's so cool. It's like
that is true. He is cool.
He's just great. I mean, I like the whole thing about vampires in general, but Dracula himself, he's had like so much screen time. There's, like we said, there's to date, at least as far as we know, at a minimum, there's 700 different publications, iterations, interpretations.
I would say that's a low number. I would honestly say that's
sure.
very,
I agree.
At least.
I agree. That's fair. And I don't know, just the aura around Dracula, like when you think of him, I bet you could think of like five different interpretations.
Yeah.
What are your 5? Go.
I don't know if I've got 5 that I instantly think of when I think of Dracula. There's really only 2 that I think of.
Okay.
First is like the classic Christopher Lee / Bela Lugosi vintage Dracula with like the widow's peak shaped hair, like slicked back hair, the long red and black cape, the high collar. And then probably my favorite iteration of Dracula, this might be a hot take, but the version in Van Helsing. That's who I think.
Oh, yeah, he was pretty cool. Yeah, he was pretty ridiculous.
He was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He's so over the top and just so, like, my thing with Dracula is the more over the top and more romantic he is, that's Dracula to me. Like, the Dracula in Van Helsing was just so overacted and so over the top and so overly romantic in the way that he acted that it works. It works for me.
That's one of the things about Dracula is he's the original interpretation of him. He was a seducer. That's what makes him so alluring. Is he had this ability to seduce anybody, through his charm, through his mysticism. So yeah, that was a pretty good interpretation of him in that sense.
What about you? What do you think of?
I think of... Well, the first one that comes to my mind is if you are a fan of Castlevania, the animated series on Netflix,
or the game, I guess. Right?
Well, the game, yeah, but the Castlevania series on Netflix. Oh, it's so if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's so good. It's dark. It's gory. It's gritty. It gets really fucking dark. But his version of Dracula in that, he's just off the rails crazy. He's kind of like he of course he like hates humanity. He's Dracula. He's like a scientist. He's like a genius and all that. Gets a knock on the door one day from a priest, essentially, who ends up becoming his wife. But then his wife gets killed by the Pope, like the papacy, like the Catholics or whatever, and he just goes on this like bloodlust vengeance. he shows up at like the church, like kind of like just materializes this like hologram, like it's like a big old flame, and it's like his face in the flames. And he pretty much says, "You guys have 1 year to prepare because I'm coming to fuck your shit up," basically. Yeah. And that version of him.
I was gonna say, I think that if Dracula's not like a overly romantic, like thespian, kind of as it were, a dark Avenger Dracula always works for me.
Oh yeah, he's just like I love his version of it.
Yeah.
So that version's pretty cool. I like the Nosferatu spin-off of him,
like the silent movie one or the recent one.
Well, the recent, I mean both. I'm saying like the character,
okay,
Nosferatu,
Count Orlok.
Yeah. I love his version of him too. A lot of there's some key differences between his version and the actual Dracula version, but I think those are probably my two favorite instances of Dracula. At least the two that come to my mind.
The movie Salem's Lot. Did you ever see that?
Yeah. The Stephen King one? No.
Yeah. But he's like a Dracula character too. He's like comes to New Salem or whatever it's called.
Another version.
Yeah, his name's Count Barlow. But he comes in like the new one. I actually really like the new version of Salem's Lot. I don't know. I guess people are very decisive about it.
I didn't even know there was a new.
Yeah, I think it was an HBO Max like exclusive.
Oh, what?
Yeah, so it came out last year, and
no shit.
It's heavy on like the 80s and 90s nostalgia a little bit. So obviously that's gonna hook me in.
They've been doing a lot of remakes of Stephen King. Like a lot of his books have been like more. I mean, of course, they were already adapted into films before, but there's a lot of remakes of those original films. I think they recently did a Pet Sematary.
Mm-hmm, they did.
It's not an original, but a remake.
I feel like it's because those movies, when they came out back in the 80s, there was only so much you could do visually.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to just realize his true vision or something like that. Yeah. Or it could just be a huge money grab. Who knows?
It might be. Like, I'm waiting for them to remake The Shining.
I'm sure it's coming.
They haven't done that yet.
But Salem's Lot's in my opinion, a great movie. Count Barlow's really menacing. He just kind of only has a couple minutes of screen time, but like those couple of minutes that he has are very
crucial
heavy.
to the film.
Yeah, they're very heavy.
Dracula Untold, I would say, is another one that I like.
Okay. I've actually never seen that, but
it's so good. It's more of like an origin story. It reminds me a lot of this. It's kind of that same feel of if you ever saw Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah.
Like that same kind of like it's like an origin story.
Which Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter, that movie fucking slaps. I don't care.
I love it. It's so good.
It's so stupid.
So good.
So stupid. But I love that
just
shit.
The scene that always sticks out to me is the one where he's like flipping the axe, like he's like it's like a montage of him like practicing with the axe, and he's just like flipping it in his hands and like getting so good at it. Like that whole entire movie.
My favorite is when they pretty much raid everybody's houses for all their silverware and melt it down, and then you just see like forks and spoons flying out of cannons into these fucking vampires at the Battle of Gettysburg.
Yeah,
that's hilarious to me.
It's such a great movie.
But yeah, definitely that early 2000s style of like anti-hero action movie, right? Isn't that what Dracula Untold kind of was?
It came out.
It was like 04, I think, right?
2014 is when it came out.
Oh, was it 2014?
Yeah, but basically,
I knew there was a 4 in there somewhere.
Basically, the premise of that, it's like Dracula's origin story where he's an anti-hero. Mm-hmm. So it's actually Vlad the Impaler.
Right, which historically he kind of is an anti-hero.
Yeah. I mean, he rebelled against like the Ottoman Empire, and pretty much is like, no,
he didn't rebel against them. I don't think he was the only one to protect I guess Romania from the Ottoman Empire. Like he was the last one to be able to truly stand up against them. So he kind of became a hero.
Well, I thought
in that sense.
I thought it was more or less like because like the Ottoman Empire was expanding into the territories, and they kind of oversaw. They were like, no, this is our territory, and he essentially was like, you know what? No, this is like Romania. I mean, it kind of goes against.
This is over.
Basically, yeah. Basically, that's what
it could be. Maybe that could be.
I could. I mean,
I took it as he was like the last bastion against standing up against the Ottoman Empire, but maybe that is the case. We'll get into him a little bit later.
Yeah, because he shows up, kind of like a little other offshoot. There's a series on Netflix called, I think, The Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
And it's pretty much about the rise of the Ottoman Empire, and then season 2 came out, and it was him. I think it's literally called Him versus Vlad. And it's about like the bout between him and Vlad the Impaler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick.
But yeah, Dracula Untold. If you haven't seen it, it's another good like rendition of Dracula, where he just like becomes Dracula, and I think they're making another one because they kind of left it off as a cliffhanger, but that was 10 years ago, so we'll see.
I really enjoyed The Last Voyage of the Demeter too.
That's one I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Again, it's one of those you love or hate it. That would be a better.
Didn't that come out around the same time as Nosferatu last year?
No, that came out I think 2022.
And okay, so that one was it. That's about Dracula, right? But being like the voyage from Romania to London, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not really even about Dracula. It's about merchants going from. They were trying to find work, so they all got on the Demeter, which is a trade ship, and they all worked as like ship hands.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to them, that one of the packages or boxes of things they were taking with them was in fact Dracula.
Yeah.
And he's in like the storage bay of the ship, and every night somebody else goes missing, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out what the hell's happening. And eventually they do find out that it's a vampire, so they try to kill him, and obviously it ends badly for them, but
there's a scene pretty much like the same thing in Nosferatu where it's the same premise.
Right.
Like they're trying to figure out what it is, and it's like. But
my issue with The Last Voyage of the Demeter is like once they figure out, because they figure out that Dracula's on board pretty early on, right? Just drag the coffin up to the upper deck and open the fucking lid, right? Right? Like,
well, I guess
or just throw it overboard.
Well, I mean, it's a good segue. It kind of depends on what version of Dracula you're like dealing with, though. So if
he was scary in Last Voyage of Dracula. Like he was not traditional Dracula.
I thought he was pretty vicious. Like,
he's vicious and he's very feral. Like he's a feral Dracula. He doesn't become like the suave version until he gets to London. Like they kind of leave it on that cliffhanger where he runs into the ship captain at the bar, and he's got like the top hat and the cane and the cape and all that stuff. But on the actual ship, he's very like bat-like.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like I said, it's a good segue into like the original version of Dracula.
Sure.
So if we look at the original, like the very first instance of Dracula, he was made famous by Irish author Bram Stoker. And his book that came out in 1897, and basically the book, it's kind of interesting how there's never like a main like character in the novel,
right? It's all written through letters.
It's like letters and like correspondences and stuff like that, and Dracula just happens to be like
the main focus
of which kind of checks out because like in the Nosferatu film, it's told from like the perspective of the boyfriend who has to go to in Romania and actually officiate the documents for him to like purchase some land or something in London or whatever. What's interesting though is even though Bram Stoker is credited with creating Dracula, apparently he made a mistake when he made the copyrights. And he made it public domain. So pretty much anybody essentially could grab, the character Dracula and profit off of it.
And boy, did they.
Yeah, and that's where all these different, like variations like came out after Dracula was created. Of course, like the most iconic, variation of Dracula is Nosferatu, which originally...
I don't know if he's the most iconic, but he's definitely up there.
Like the 1920... I'm talking about like the...
Yeah, I know, but I still would argue that probably the Bela Lugosi, this version, is the iconic.
Nosferatu is kind of like a Wish.com Dracula, so to speak.
Right. He's Temu Dracula.
He's Temu Dracula. He's Shin Dracula. He pretty much, if you like look at the story side by side, like in the original Dracula novel, like Van Helsing shows up. He's the one to like kill in Dracula in the novel. But in Nosferatu, at least in like the current rendition of it, Van Helsing's not a character. Like, He doesn't show up in the film at all. But Van Helsing seems to be like one of the original characters, though, in like the Dracula lore.
Oh, he for sure is. He's like
his arch nemesis.
He's the vampire hunter.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think as a premise, it is something to note that Bram Stoker took inspiration for Dracula, as we were mentioning, from Vlad the Impaler. It's also noted that he was also inspired perhaps by two actors that he knew with aristocratic backgrounds named Sir Henry Irving and Jacques de Mala. So the story pretty much goes that while he was researching this this gothic horror novel of his, he went into a Romanian library and seen the name Dracula, thinking that it meant devil in Romanian, and just kind of ran with it. So there's no real solid proof that he based it off of Vlad the Impaler, but Vlad was known as Vlad Dracula.
Yep.
And that's just kind of where that story comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were saying, Vlad was a Romanian king or prince, led his armies against the Ottoman Empire, where he was famous for using scare tactics of once he defeated an enemy, he would capture the leftover prisoners and impale them with wooden spikes going up their asses, more or less, and leave them to die.
Up the ass and out the mouth.
Exactly.
Skewer them.
I was watching a documentary on this in preparation of this, and apparently they would live for like 24 hours. Like, he would shove the poles up into them. It didn't have to be out of the mouth, but they would shove the poles up into them, and they could live like that at least for like a day. And it was just a horrifically painful death. But that's where the name comes from. They would say that he would just sit outside and eat his lunch in the face of the enemy with all these like thousands of people impaled on spikes and just look at him.
Can you imagine?
Dude, what a fucking badass.
You're sitting out there, you got this freaking wooden pole just shoved up your butt, and like it's up your throat. So your neck is probably like cocked back. You can't really move, but you just can see it to the corner of your eye. He's just staring at you, like just gnawing on a turkey leg.
Right.
Just staring at you.
I don't know if he was staring at the people he impaled. It was more like he could see the enemy. And it was more for like the general of the opposing side to see him eating his lunch, surrounded by thousands of their own dead, like the enemy's dead soldiers.
Just like, you sure that?
Yeah, it's gonna be you tomorrow, buddy.
Like, make better choices.
Yeah, it was said that the general that was chasing him, pretty much to get him back to Castle Dracula, that eventually became famous, seen the carnage and the impaled soldiers in it. There was like 20,000 of them, and it said that a seasoned war veteran, literally threw up and ran away after he seen this.
Oh, it can't be that blowing chunks.
Right.
And just like, nope, I had enough.
Yeah. But Vlad was, I guess, one of the last true like heroes of the Romanian people standing up for Christian Europe. So he kind of dies as a hero to a lot of people, even though he did such horrific, graphic things. All for, I guess, a cause of war, but nonetheless dies a hero from mysterious causes. And nobody truly knows where Vlad dies, or nobody truly knows where Vlad was buried, or how he truly died. So just some food for thought on the origins of where the Dracula story comes from.
Another inspiration for at least some of the behaviors and the lore behind Dracula. I forget what episode we covered this in, but I feel like we've talked about
the Bloody Mary episode.
Was that what it was? Yeah, Elizabeth Bathory.
Yep, also known as Bloody Mary.
Yeah, if listeners who had previously listened to that episode, I think it was like one of our first ones.
Yeah. One of my favorite episodes too, by the way.
She was a Hungarian noblewoman and an alleged serial killer, but that would basically murder her maids and like bathe in their blood because she believed that like the blood had like healing properties and preserved her youth.
Keep her young forever.
Yeah. So of course, the whole bloodlust thing is another inspiration, as to where that came from, which isn't crazy because
blood is the life of people. Like it's a life force.
Sure.
Like without blood, you're dead. Like
for sure.
It's the same as oxygen, water, whatever. Like
it's crazy to think though. Like so Bram Stoker wrote this. It gets published in 1897, and his inspiration allegedly is amongst Vlad the Impaler, but Elizabeth Bathory. That happened in 1560 to 1614. That was like her time frame. So mid 1600s, early 1600s.
Only like 150 years later.
Yeah, to think that was like his inspiration of like 200 years before his time.
Right.
When this, like, it's just crazy to think about.
Time is wild to me. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
It's nuts. Other notable differences though about Dracula. So I didn't know this, but like upon like researching it, so when you think of a vampire, what are the common things that come to mind?
They can turn into a bat. They have the power of flight, I guess, as a bat. I guess they can fly, right? But fangs, biting people's necks.
Yeah, shape-shifting.
No reflection.
So that's a good one, like the no reflection thing. Apparently, I think in Bram Stoker's version that he does have a reflection. I could be wrong, but some of the differences or the other interpretations of Dracula where they don't have reflections, vampires don't have reflections, is because it's believed that they don't have a soul.
Right.
And that's why they don't have like a reflection in the mirror. I think in the original Dracula, he actually can like be exposed to sunlight. Like it doesn't, it weakens him, but it doesn't like kill him.
Right.
Whereas like the Nosferatu version, it's like toxic.
And like regular vampires.
Yeah, like it's like so like he can still like have sunlight, but it's not gonna. I mean, it's like kryptonite. It weakens him, but it doesn't usually kill him.
I think that's even a thing in Van Helsing too, where.
Yeah, wasn't he out in like the daylight?
Well, I don't know if so much of it was daylight, but there was like multiple tropes of how to kill vampires that had no effect on him. Like remember he like has the crucifix and he like holds onto it and he bursts into flames and he just kind of like melts it and throws it away. No. Yeah, like Dracula's so OP. Do you want to kind of just go over the novel real quick before we get into more modern adaptations?
So with the original plot behind Dracula, just to kind of give a synopsis. So you have
Cliff Notes version.
So Jonathan Harker, who's a newly qualified English solicitor, visits Count Dracula at his castle. And the reason why he's there is he's trying to help the Count purchase a home near London. Ignoring the Count's warning, Harker wanders the castle at night and encounters 3 vampire women. Dracula rescues Harker and gives the woman a small child bound inside a bag. 6 weeks later, Dracula leaves the castle and abandons Harker to the woman. Harker escapes and ends up in a delirious, kind of shaken, but he ends up in a Budapest hotel. And Dracula takes a ship to London, which is called the Demeter. Another thing is he has to sleep. What is it? He has to sleep with earth. Like
it's like dirt from his homeland.
Okay, so he has like boxes full.
That's why. Yeah, he's got boxes full of dirt, or his coffin always has
dirt from Romania, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
He has to,
or Transylvania.
And isn't it also that he has to, before the sun rises, he has to fall asleep in the dirt if he's like out of his coffin. Even if he's not exposed to sunlight. If he's out of the coffin by the next sunrise, that could kill him too.
Something along those lines.
Basically, yeah. There's a whole bunch of
like the ways to kill Dracula vary significantly.
Yeah, you could probably write a book on the ways to kill him.
Yeah, he leaves the castle and boards a Russian ship, the Demeter, taking along with him 50 boxes of Transylvanian soil, which he needs to regain his strength and rest during daylight. During the voyage to Whitby, a coastal town in northern England, he sustains himself on the ship's crew members, which is basically the entire plot of Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Okay.
So that whole movie is basically one chapter of the book.
That's how extensive like the novel
the lore
is.
Yeah.
The lore behind it is. You can expand on so many different. You could probably write a whole book on just the journey, the officiator to go meet him at Romania or whatever. That whole entire. It kind of goes into a little bit of Nosferatu, where he stays in the town before he even gets to like the castle for like a day or two.
Right.
And like kind of like watching their strange, like, he's like, in his mind, they're like strange customs, but they're like trying to prevent him from attacking or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Only one body is found that of the captain, who was found tied up to the ship's helm. The captain's log is recovered and tells the strange events that had taken place during the ship's journey. Dracula leaves the ship in the form of a dog and runs up 199 steps to the graveyard of St. Mary's Church in the shadow of the Whitby Abbey ruins. Soon the Count begins menacing Harker's fiancée and her friend, and there is also a notable link between Dracula and Renfield, which reminds me of that Renfield movie that came out.
That's what I was thinking of.
With Nicolas Cage's Dracula, another fantastic version.
Yeah.
Really love that. He is a patient in an insane asylum overseen by John Seward, who is compelled to consume spiders, birds, and other creatures in ascending order of size to absorb their life force. Renfield acts as a kind of a censor, reacting to Dracula's proximity and supplying clues accordingly. Dracula visits Lucy's bedchamber on a nightly basis, draining her of blood while simultaneously infecting her with the curse of vampirism. Not knowing the cause for Lucy's deterioration, her three suitors, Seward, Arthur Holmwood, and Quincy Morris, call upon Seward's mentor, the Dutch doctor Abraham Van Helsing. Van Helsing soon deduces her condition's supernatural origins and tries to keep the vampire at bay with garlic. Nevertheless, Dracula attacks Lucy's house one final time, killing her mother and transforming Lucy herself into one of the undead.
So interesting, and like, so Van Helsing is like the main, person fighting against Dracula in the novel, and Nosferatu, the equivalent of that character, like Willem Dafoe's character, was a German doctor.
So Harker escapes Dracula's castle, returns to England, barely alive, and deeply traumatized. On Seward's suggestion, Mina seeks Van Helsing's assistance in assessing Harker's health. She reads his journal and passes it along to Van Helsing. This unfolds the first clue to the identity of Lucy's assailant, which later prompts Mina to collect all of the events of Dracula's appearances in news articles, letters, newspaper clippings, and journals of each member of the group. So after they discover that Renfield's behavior is directly influenced by Dracula, they then discover that Dracula has purchased a residence next door to Seward's. The group gathers intelligence to track down Dracula and destroy him. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but
basically they start hunting him down.
Yeah, they basically start hunting him down. The heroes follow Dracula back to Transylvania, and in a climactic battle with Dracula's Romani bodyguards, finally destroy him. Despite the popular image of Dracula having a stake driven through his heart to kill him, describes his capitation by Harker's short sword, while Morris simultaneously pierces his heart with a Bowie knife. Badass. His body then turns to dust, but not before Mina sees an expression of peace on his face. So there you go. Another way to kill him is by decapitating him with a short sword and then all-American Bowie knife through the heart.
You can get yourself a $20 Bowie knife made by Winchester at Walmart.
You sure can. You can buy everything you need to kill Dracula at your local Walmart.
You really could. Get yourself a vampire Dracula, war kit, a safety kit.
Get yourself some garlic, wooden stakes,
a
Bowie knife.
You
might as well get a shotgun while you're there.
There's some
Why
salt.
not?
There's some salt in there. You never know.
Probably a rosary of some sort.
Like a cross, yeah. Or you could buy the wood and make your own cross.
You could. Just go right next door to the Lowe's or the Home Depot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And probably get some nails. Probably get silver there.
Just get some silverware.
Silverware, yeah.
Might as well pick up a set of new tires while you're at it. Maybe some wheat thins. Need sustenance while you're out there. 12-pack of Mountain Dew.
You've also realized that paint started to chip in your living room, so get yourself a nice can of paint.
Nice Velspar paint.
Some brushes.
Forget what you were doing. Stop hunting Dracula for a day or two. Repaint your living room.
And then you realize that.
Change the oil in your car.
Yeah. Yep. And that goddamn cabinet won't stop squeaking, so you go back and get yourself some WD-40.
Yep.
All the while, Dracula's regaining his strength in Transylvania.
Where's that movie at? Where's the movie where you just it's one of those montages where you see Dracula bloody and beaten, gets back to his castle Dracula, goes down to his chambers into his coffin. It's like, oh God, I hope they don't find me in here. And he closes the lid and it's pitch black and it's him sleeping. Meanwhile, it cuts to the guy shopping in Walmart, cuts back to Dracula still sleeping, cuts back to the guy in Walmart. He's in 4 aisles over. He cuts back to Dracula still sleeping. 2 days later, he's still back at Walmart.
It's like, okay, is this guy coming after me or not?
No, I feel great. I'm back to full health. Dracula runs into him at Walmart. Just go back at 6 years when there was still 24/7 Walmarts.
Yeah, it's at night. He's like
3 a.m. Dracula's just there shopping.
He's like, oh, I see you're getting Count Chocula.
He's got like the little spooky chicken nuggets in his cart.
Oh yeah, he's going all out. Yeah, this is the only place I can get these. You're not too bad, Dracula. You're an okay guy.
So that's the original version of Dracula. Do you want to talk what kind of powers Dracula has?
Pretty much.
And characteristics, I guess, would be a good thing to kind of cover too.
Yeah. So if you look at let's start with like Nosferatu and his version of.
I'm sensing a theme. You really like Nosferatu.
I'm starting with him because that starts like in like the 20s, and I'm thinking of like the modern. So Nosferatu is in the 20s. Through, like,
Count Dracula novel, Nosferatu, Bela Lugosi, 1930s,
30s and 40s, right?
And Christopher Lee in the 50s.
Yeah. So Nosferatu, pretty much the same thing as like any other Dracula. So superhuman strength, it seems. His version, a little bit more kind of like spectral, so he can control like shadows and stuff and move through like the shadows. If you saw in the film, there's like a part where he's like trying to get to the one chick or whatever, and it kind of shows him as a shadow specter kind of going through like the night. Of course, like, the bloodlust, so he has to feed in order to like sustain his power. The ability to like climb up walls and stuff, kind of like a lizard, like kind of like
right.
climb up and cling to things. Crazy superhuman strength.
Spider Drac.
Pretty much. What's it called when you can like hop into people's dreams?
Ooh.
Not like it's
like
not
transcendental meditation kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what like it's not
like astral projection almost.
Yeah, pretty much. So he can like hop into your dreams and things like that, and make you see shit.
Like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, pretty much. He has like that ability. In some versions, he can shapeshift and kind of turn into like other animals. And like,
clearly, as he came off the Demeter as a dog.
Yeah. So like he can change into like a dog.
Most people just assume he only turns into a bat, but he turns into many things.
I think he can turn into like a lot of different animals if he wants to.
He can even turn into mist.
And then, of course, like seduction, like
a master seducer.
Nosferatu isn't really that. He's kind of
course
ugly.
Not, because look at him.
Yeah, he's like
Jesus
ugly
Christ.
as fuck. But like the versions that you're talking about, yeah, they were like
handsome and
seducers.
suave.
Yeah, they were like the ladies were swooning over him.
Oh, yeah.
And
they wanted some of that Drac pipe.
And like you said, like the version of like Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, like that version of Dracula was kind of like the sexualized, and that's like a reoccurring theme with Dracula is like there seems to be a lot of sexual repression around. Like,
I think that was the style from gothic horror. I feel like that's what people wanted, sex in their horror, and we still do today.
It was kind of like they were spicy books without being spicy back in the day.
It's a Court of Thorn and Roses, only back then it was called Dracula.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like people are like, oh my God, if this vampire were to show up and rail me. Mary Sue.
He thrust his throbbing fangs into her
pretty much. It's
vivacious neck.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you read this?
He thrusted deeply as he sucked the blood. Okay.
It's like, this is so vulgar. Like, why are you reading this?
I'm so hot right now.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a huge element of like over sexualization.
Yeah, I would honestly say the Van Helsing version is less sexual. He's just trying to have kids. Like, he's just like purely procreation.
That's true. Yeah.
He's just very... Again, he's so over the top. He's like a Shakespearean act. My favorite part, or my favorite moment from Dracula is when I think that he finds Frankenstein's monster. It's the brother. One of the two is on the table, and he's trying to run the experiment to bring life, and he starts screaming, and he like starts dancing to the screams. It's like, that's so fucked up, but it's so spot on characteristically.
Yeah, it's like he's kind of a psychopath.
Oh, for sure, he's a psychopath.
Like he gives you like Joker vibes almost.
A little bit. I think that he's less. Joker's just way too unpredictable. Dracula is very calculated.
I'm like in the sense of like
he's almost more like Dr. Doom.
Yeah. That I guess that's a better like.
Yeah. He's very calculated. Like he knows what you're gonna do before you do it, and like can exploit your weaknesses that way. Joker just does whatever the fuck he wants.
That's true.
No plan.
Yeah, no, that checks out. So then that's like his version of it, and then of course like you have like your favorite version, it seems, or at least like the one that you kind of like on your shirt right there, like kind of gravitate towards the most, probably.
I don't know if I gravitate toward it. It's just like he's Bela Lugosi and Christopher Lee kind of brought the character into the modern
like
what you
Hollywood.
think of. Yeah.
Like I see them and I think of like the Count. When somebody says Count Dracula, like that's what I think.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Yeah. I think Count Dracula is probably I would say the most well-known version.
The stereotype of suck it, blah.
Right.
Like, yeah. Like,
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
I do not
blah.
say blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very Hotel Transylvania-esque. But I think that's what kind of brought the popularity of Dracula into like American homes, for one. Because this is a foreign novel, right?
I guess technically, he was Irish.
Yeah.
But he was Irish, but he wasn't.
And it's all like London, Transylvania, European Gothic horror. So when you bring it to America, the first kind of, what was Nosferatu? Was that a foreign film or was that an American film?
Yeah, it's an American film.
Okay. By the 50s, when Christopher Lee took over the role of Dracula, that's where the more like the fangs and the cape and all that stuff really start to come into like the prominent features.
It was stereotypical Hollywood. Hollywood. So
and it's also the 50s where movies, golden age of cinema kind of thing.
Yeah, they started getting like really sensationalized.
Right. So that's the version I think of only because that's the version I've been, I guess, accustomed to. Like that's what Dracula is. No. Like the Universal monster movie version of Dracula.
And there's so many other versions where like I know of them, but I haven't seen like the films. Wasn't there one where like Eddie Murphy was like a vampire?
Yeah.
Where he was like a black Dracula.
He wasn't a black Dracula per se, but he was definitely
modeled after.
He could have been modeled after Dracula. I don't think I really got that from him. It was called Vampires in
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
right?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's a fucking weird ass movie, but if you
love,
is it
a comedy or horror?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It's so stupid. It's so silly, but it's pure like 90s cheese with Eddie Murphy before he became Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
So he's doing just to see Eddie Murphy do a Transylvanian accent is worth watching the movie on its own.
Oh,
so
okay.
So check that out definitely. But I don't think that he would technically be modeled after Dracula per se, but there are some similarities there, for sure.
Sure.
It's like you're saying he could do. For instance, he goes to like an apartment, where he lives, and when he goes in it, it's like just a empty room, nothing's in it. It's a cold place, just as coffins in there, kind of thing. But when somebody else comes into it, he can like mentally manipulate them into thinking it's this vast ballroom. It's a huge castle, like way bigger than it has any right being inside, and it's super luxurious and like ancient. I know Dracula's a big ancient architecture fan.
Yeah.
That's why he's always gravitating to old houses and castles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like ancient Greek architecture and stuff like that in this tiny apartment. Right?
Yeah.
But nobody questions it because they're being put under this spell. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie's fun.
I need to watch it now.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's only like an hour and a half long too, so it's definitely just a bite-sized movie you can squeeze in.
We should watch it. We should at least like 20 minutes of it. I've never seen. I haven't seen it. There's like so many like different like versions in movies.
Another one of his abilities, obviously, is turning other people into vampires as well. So
that's common. Again, I don't think there's any version of Dracula where that's not the case.
Right. I think the only difference with Dracula is that I feel like in most instances, and correct me if I'm wrong, when a regular vampire bites somebody and drinks their blood, that kills them. Right? But when Dracula does it, he has the ability to like take what he needs and then turn them into vampires on their own.
Maybe. I always thought it was just if you get bitten by one.
It could be. I mean, I feel like it's also been modernized to where every vampire can do it.
Yeah, but that would
taking
make sense,
like vampire brides to have vampire spawns. Like he can. I don't think any other versions of vampires take brides to procreate with. But again, I could be wrong on that too. But I feel like that's a strictly Dracula thing, where he takes specific people to be his vampire brides, where they then try to just make more vampires. Whereas traditional vampires, again, I guess they could just turn other people into vampires.
That's how. I don't know if you saw Sinners.
I have not yet, but it's definitely on my list.
Oh,
I've been told to see it multiple times.
So fucking good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna watch that probably this week.
That's kind of like the premise behind. Like that's that version of it. There's no grand master vampire. It's just it's like a disease. You get bit, it just spreads.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay. So with weaknesses, in Bram Stoker, I'm trying so hard not to call him Stroker.
He jerked off a lot. They called him Bram Stoker the Stroker.
Stoker the Stroker. Have a nice cup of hot stoke outside.
God, Jesus.
So, classical, weaknesses of Dracula, and this is pretty much the same across all the different versions of him. In the original, like I said before, in the original novel, sunlight doesn't destroy Dracula; it only weakens him. But that's been, adapted to the modern vampire, where sunlight either does kill them, or I'm sure in the Last Voyage of the Demeter, does the film take place at night the entire? Well, probably not.
Dracula only comes out at night.
But yeah, okay.
So they do have daytime sequences where they're preparing, like they're trying to ready traps and stuff for the night when he comes out.
And like the most recent rendition of Nosferatu, same thing. He waits during the day to open the coffin.
Right.
And I think there is like a scene where he does open the coffin. It does show that like he starts to burn or whatever. So like sunlight.
Well, isn't that how he? Spoilers for Nosferatu if you haven't seen the recent version, when they like open the curtains and like the sun comes in and like kills him. Isn't that how the movie kind of ends?
Yeah, at the end she dies. I think. It gets so another
it gets
spoiler.
Weird. It gets weird.
That is it's not a movie that I would watch with like your parents. It is a very sexually charged movie.
Yeah.
And there's
like his whole mission is to fuck.
Pretty much. Like the whole entire film he's just trying to hunt down this one chick just so he
specifically
could screw her.
to fuck her.
Like just so he could screw her. And then they somehow come to this like conclusion that the only way to actually kill him is for her to screw him back while he's being exposed to sunlight.
Yes.
Yes.
That is. Now it's coming back to me. I feel like that was a trap they set. Like she knew that the only way this was ever going to stop was if she just gave in. And like brought him to her chambers, and he didn't know that it was daytime out or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then
and they pretty much baited her. So she ended up pretty much like succumbs to his like desires
and kills her in the process.
But he's so overtaken by the desire that he kind of goes feral and he's not thinking rationally.
Right.
And then they like kind of draw the curtains and the sunlight kills him.
Right. Right. Did they fuck all night? Maybe that's how they got him. Did they fuck all night and then they opened the curtains? It was like daytime. I think that's what it was. She got him right before the sun came up. There were no curtains. It just
it was right before the sun rises. Yeah, that was because the dude's like, you got to do it, before the next sunrise or whatever.
Yeah.
And, so
Jesus, Jesus, what a movie!
Yeah, crazy film. So sunlight definitely a common theme with Dracula.
He's commonly depicted as having something called bloodlust, which is an insatiable appetite for blood, which can severely alter his decision-making, as we just kind of alluded to, where he doesn't think clearly. He's just so hyper-fixated on one thing. In this case, it was desire, but most of the case, it's bloodlust.
Holy symbols is another common theme. So Dracula recoils from crucifixes, holy water, and consecrated ground. These symbols represent faith and purity, which is opposing to his unholy nature. He typically cannot enter churches or holy places. Another thing about that, I think in the original version of Dracula, he could go wherever. Like, the churches and stuff he couldn't, but like the whole thing about like you have to ask a vampire, which that you'll see in Sinners, that comes up quite a good bit in there.
Beautiful home you have. May I come in?
Basically, like to the point where there's a couple scenes where it's like so blatantly obvious, so like what's going on.
Yeah.
But apparently that wasn't a thing in the original Dracula. That was like a modern adaptation where they kind of threw that in.
Gotcha.
Garlic seems to be like a typical thing.
Garlic doesn't like outright kill him. It just repulses him.
Garlic, which seems to be a reoccurring theme with a lot of vampiric lore. It's a key anti-vampire tool. I guess it's the belief that garlic's strong odor and symbolic purity repels Dracula. Of course, in the novel, Van Helsing uses garlic flowers to protect Lucy and Mina in the novel. Do you have anything to add about garlic?
Nope, I think you covered that. Yeah. Placing a branch of wild rose upon his coffin will also render him unable to escape it. Or, in addition, a sacred bullet fired into the coffin could kill him that he remains truly dead. So, he seems to be pretty prone to plants and herbs.
Doesn't like them. Doesn't like them at all. Of course, this one, I'm sure our listeners will probably agree this is the most common thing with vampires, but a wooden stake to the heart. A classic method of killing a vampire, a wooden stake through the heart, usually made of ash, hawthorn, or oak. In the novel, Lucy and Dracula are both killed by staking. And of course, this just symbolizes purifying the body and releasing the trapped soul.
I like how it's specific types of wood.
Yeah, of course.
Can't kill them with an elm tree. No.
Well, what kind of wood you use? A redwood tree?
That's a big problem right there. It's got to be good old fashioned oak. Always gets the job done.
See, look, you lose vampire. Nothing. We take out Hawthorne. God, instantly.
To piggyback on what you were saying earlier about the dirt. So he requires Transylvanian soil to be nearby to him in a foreign land or be entombed within his coffin in Transylvania to order successfully rest. Otherwise, he will be unable to recover his strength. This has forced him to transport many boxes of Transylvanian earth to each of his residences in London. He is most powerful when he is within his earth home, coffin home, hell home, or any place unhallowed. If Dracula or any vampire has had their fill in blood upon feeding, they will be caused to rest in this dead state for even longer than usual. So basically, if they have too much, they go into the dead sleep. And then
they get blood drunk.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Blood drunk. One more, mirrors. Dracula has no reflection, and like we stated earlier, this is a sign that he lacks a true soul. Mm-hmm. He also hates mirrors. Harker's mirrors gets thrown out the window. Mirrors are thought to reveal the true nature of a being, so Dracula avoids them at all costs.
Yeah, his cover would be blown.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so moving on from those powers and abilities, I'd like to just really quick go over, as we said, Dracula, since his inception, has been more or less a cultural phenomenon, cultural icon. I would put Dracula up against Mickey Mouse, Superman, Batman, as some of the most recognizable characters in all of fiction.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm going to read to you a list of how many people have portrayed Dracula over the years. You ready?
Let's go.
Max Schreck, Bela Lugosi, John Carradine, Lon Chaney Jr., Christopher Lee, Francis Lederer, Denholm Elliott, Jack Palance, Louis Jordan, Rudolph Martin, Frank Langella, Klaus Kinski, Gary Oldman, Leslie Nielsen, George Hamilton, David Niven, Charles Macaulay, Keith Lee Castle, Ray Liotta, Gerard Butler, Duncan Rhaegar, Richard Roxburgh, Mark Warren, Rutger Hauer, Stephen Billington, Thomas Kretschmann, Dominic Purcell, Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, Luke Evans, Christian Camargo, Claes Bang, Nicolas Cage, Javier Botet, Bill Skarsgård. I think that's it. But that is an insane amount of people. What was Gerard Butler? What movie was he in that he played Dracula? The character is closely associated with the Western cultural archetype of the vampire and remains a popular Halloween costume to this day.
Like for our viewers out there, you really can just go Google pop culture Dracula, and you'll just see the many instances of how popular Dracula. I think
it still is.
I think as far as classic monsters go, he's probably one of the top, if not the top. That just shows up and people portray him.
As far as Universal monsters,
the classic vampire werewolf.
It's got to be Dracula, then Frankenstein. Those two are literally in a league of their own. But then I would say Wolfman and Creature of the Black Lagoon. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was telling Nick I was in Target earlier today, and I was walking by the toy section, and there's a Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a Dracula costume. It's it's just the grip that Dracula has had on modern culture still to this day is really impressive.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere.
I don't think so either.
People love him. As far as your classic horror movie monster.
Yeah, why do you think he's had such good staying power?
Like we were saying earlier, when the original novel came out, that gothic horror novel, it was a time where people really were repressed. And I think it was kind of coming out of that. You had the Puritans in the 1600s, 1500s, 1600s. 1700s were kind of going through another religious reform or whatever. Mm-hmm. And people are really starting to break away from, the traditional norms that they're kind of used to. And there's kind of a curiosity that just kind of comes from the unknown. And I think Dracula is a pretty good adaptation of that.
Yeah.
What would it be like to get bitten by a vampire? What would it be like if I had superhuman abilities this? Do things go bump in the night?
He's like the best of both worlds of a horror movie and a superhero movie.
Yeah, and it's
It's the same reason like Batman and Superman have stayed popular. Like, what if I had those powers?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, but that's like the common theme with like a lot of these like horror movies and monsters. I think it kind of captures like a part of human nature that we are, but we like, kind of ignore it. But we don't want to admit it, like because humans, we have the ability to be monsters. Just like look at the fucking news. Like we have the ability to be.
I was gonna say, I think like it's like a social not a stereotype, but like a reflection on stereotypes in society.
Yeah,
to an extent.
Like we all
social commentary, I guess, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, we all have the ability to be like Dracula or like the Frankenstein monster.
Just because I don't crave blood doesn't mean you don't have other dark urges.
Sure, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I think a lot of times people, that's like that kind of like draw to that. It's like why we find these stories so fascinating. We continue to tell them over and over again.
Yeah. Plus, Dracula just like oozes cool.
Yeah,
it's like you said, he's just as the kids say, he aura farms these days.
Yeah, he's just cool. Like, could you imagine just getting like a text from like Dracula on a Saturday? Hey, you want to chill? Yeah.
I think it depends on what are we doing.
It's like, you got any dirt? That's a random question.
I think it's just a fascinating concept that this character that I'm sure Bram Stoker had no idea was going to last longer than maybe 30 years. Maybe he thought, if I get 30 years, if I see the end of this in my lifetime, that would be pretty good.
He didn't live too much longer, though, after it was published. Yeah.
Well, regardless.
Like he wrote it kind of like near like the later
part of his life.
Yeah.
I really would be shocked if he thought that this character would last for 200 years.
I think he intended,
going on 150 years.
Because
I guess everybody kind of intends for that to happen, but
no, I mean, I'm saying like I think he like his vision because with the copyright thing.
Okay, you think he did that on purpose?
No, I think he made an honest mistake. Like he was intending to preserve it because he's like, I don't want people to change the legacy of my version of Dracula. This is my creation, but he goofed up, and because of that, now we have vampires.
The thousands, the thousands of versions.
Yeah. Because they jumped on it pretty quick, 1897.
But it's like the peak of vampirism in society too. Like
it's like that gothic horror phase where
gothic horror, and also I was watching a documentary. It's like tuberculosis was a huge issue at the time. Yeah. So people coughing up blood and that kind of thing. People actually thought vampires existed.
Sure,
it wasn't to them, it wasn't so much a gothic horror fiction. Like this is a real thing that can happen. So I know that we kind of, this time of year always makes me nostalgic, but I'm like nostalgic for the 90s as it is usually, but I have such vivid memories of like the late 90s going on like a Universal Monsters rebirth almost. So Dracula was a huge part of my childhood. I don't know about yours, but I always remember like Dracula being, I've never watched the Dracula movies for some reason, like the old 50s or anything, but he was on like he was on Dorito bags, Pepsi cans. Like
I just remember all the different candies,
like the little plastic fangs.
Yeah.
Like that was always a big thing, and like putting a little trickle of blood going down your mouth, and I have to imagine. I feel like I was Dracula at least once or twice when I was a kid.
I'm pretty sure I was a vampire once.
Yeah.
I liked the cape and everything.
Like I was fascinated by the cape. Like cape was always the coolest part.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
But I was also, back then I was really into NASCAR. My favorite driver, Terry Labonte, raced for Kellogg's. And that's when Kellogg's started coming back out with like Universal Monsters. They had Spooky Fruit Loops with Frankenstein as the mascot for it.
Yeah.
But I feel like those other Universal Monsters had their other cereals through Kellogg's too. So they all had like their little moment to shine. But yeah, man, like Dracula, even in the 90s as a kid, I still remember everybody was just Dracula. It was just be fucking Dracula.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty, as far as monsters, like classic monsters go, he's probably up there as one of my top favorites.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that puts a bow on this episode quite nicely then. Thanks, you guys, for listening to this episode of Shadows and Sightings. As always, you can find us on social media, on Facebook, Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal podcast, Instagram, Shadows and Sightings Pod, or send us an email on Gmail, shadowsandsightings@gmail.com. New episode. Sorry, last week's episode was a little late. We had an issue with the file that I had to resend, and I didn't have my computer with me, so that's why it's a little bit late, but this one should be on time. New episodes weekly. Make sure you leave us a good review on your favorite platform of streaming. And like we said, October 25th, the plan is for us to be out at the Cryptid Halloween down at Cushwa Brewing, so If you come out to that, come up and say hi to us. I'm sure we'll probably be around, may have our Shadows and Sightings shirts on if you don't know what we look like. So that way you can find us. But until then, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things spooky.